DMT World presents The Rambling Rabbit, and I am its host, HappyKB. Welcome to The Rambling Rabbit. Today we have a guest with us all the way from Japan. We have Shaboy with us. Shaboy, how have you been?
Pretty good, pretty good.
Good.
Yeah, just fresh back from the USA.
How long were you in the USA?
A whole month. Yeah, a whole month. Of course, not enough to see such an expansive country,
Right.
but I got a very, very delicious taste of it. Thanks to DMT World.
Right. Thanks. That's awesome. And you went from one part of the United States clear over to the other, didn't you, in this month?
Absolutely, the East Coast to West Coast.
Wow, that's
I flew over all the flyover country. As you did.
That's awesome. Okay, so wow, here we are. It took us a minute to get caught up with each other because it baffles me that it's the ninth. Yeah, you're in the future and I'm in the past to you. And that always blows my mind how that works. But it does work, and we're meeting up in Discord. So whatever. This Discord is our place right now. So, yeah, okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, I always say, I most of my online stuff with these huge time zone differences are with DMT World members. I'm always saying that, I'm baffled that we have no qualms about traveling to other dimensions, but time zones, simple addition and subtraction seems to baffle everybody.
Yes, it does. It's just because we can't bend our brains around the time factor of I'm on this side of the earth and you're on that side of the earth, and just how long it actually takes for the traveling aspect up to get to it. So even when I go from one time zone, like 1 hour time zone, to another hour time zone, throws me off. So it's just one of those things we get used to, especially in DMT World, because that's what I think about. Like, I talked to several different people from Hungary and Sweden, and just that time difference. Like, they're up when I'm sleeping and vice versa. And so we do a lot of the communication through our messenger, and it just they're at night, I'm at day, we're answering the opposite, and it just works. It just kind of works. Sometimes we bleed over into each other's time, but very seldom, it seems. I think that's the really neat thing about everything. So how long have you been with us? The whole 4 years?
I've been there for the whole 4 years. I stumbled across it, and I had no idea about how long it had been going for. But I think I joined in April or May.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking up to see if I can see it, because it'll tell me on your profile. You just stumbled across it?
Yeah, I just started, I was looking, DMT came into my world, into my consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
I had not yet had it at that stage, and I'd been away from psychedelics for almost 3 decades.
Right.
And then the Renaissance happened, and it sparked my interest, and I saw that it was a legitimate spiritual path after I'd been on a more traditional spiritual path.
Right.
For that interim. It was psychedelics that threw me into that and kind of threw me out of it.
Right.
And then I realized, and I started listening to Terence McKenna, and that blew my mind. And DMT, and it came up DMT World, and that sounds exactly what I'm looking for. And I was immediately just impressed by the incredible heartfelt sharing, openness, welcomeness, the wisdom, the generosity of the community. I was hooked. I spent way too much time on DMT World back in
You actually, it looks like you joined us on May 9th of 2019. So you came in a month after we actually launched the website, went live, because we did a beta test for a while from February, and then we launched it April, like the 1st of April. And so you came in a month after we had been there. So like you have been from, like, the growth I think that you have actually gotten to witness is pretty comparable to what I've witnessed on the site, and the different, there's this thing that happens that I notice on the site, and it's the constant turning wheel of people that come through. And there's those of us, well, there's those of us like you and some other people that have stayed, but like that wheel has just kept turning and turning, and it's fascinating to see like the progression of growth, the closeness of that people have gotten. You know, you've built a lot of your friendships with a lot of these people in DMT world, and they're going to be lifelong friendships. And it's so crazy that you're clear over in Japan and we're clear over here, but like I feel like I know you better than I probably know most people who are in my real life.
Right. Yeah. To be honest, when I started getting into it, I'd had no need for online friends. I'm blessed with a very, very tight group of male friends. Tight because we're all loose nuts living outside of our own culture. So there's no leaders. We're just a bunch of people doing what we want to do.
Right.
There's 10 of us that we surf together, we camp together, we do drugs together, we party together. We come together we just come together because we enjoy doing the same things. And
right.
It's tight. So I used to I used to mock the online friends. Get a life. I used to, I was a get a life, and then I just fell in love with this group of people from DMT world, and we started all these spin-offs. T-Rex kind of started all these spin-off Discord groups and this Marco Polo video chat thing, and we it's a family, and such a family that they brought me across the Pacific Ocean. They flew me across the Pacific Ocean, or I flew,
right,
and then we met up and we shared some, super intense, beautiful experiences together that, I haven't shared with my next door neighbors. Sure.
right.
Yeah, beautiful. Absolutely. I'm always filled with gratitude for what DMT world has brought into my life, the wisdom and those connections.
I think part of it is all of us that come to DMT world, we're all in the same, where we just need to connect with people. You have the people that you are with, but like you are a person in our community that you have a lot of wisdom. You have a lot of, you just connect with a lot of people in what you're doing with your meditation, with your classes. You're very charismatic, but you're very authentic. Your pictures alone that you post on our site, that shows a lot of who you are. And that's appealing, because we all feel it. And I think that's what the DMT world is we feel each other so well. We relate so well to each other, because like I can sit in here and all these stories and these trips and just whatever people are going through, it's like, I get it. I'm there. I'm that person. I've been there. And I think that's what DMT world, the ego doesn't come into, well, not always. Sometimes the ego comes in, but the ego, it doesn't live in DMT world. The ego knows where its place is in DMT world. And go ahead.
Yeah, I think the simplicity of the DMT world, some might say the antiquated setup of DMT world kind of cultivates that community, because it's very, you post a picture, you make a comment, That's about it. It doesn't
Right.
get much more complicated than that.
Right.
And like you said, there's no kind of algorithm trying to funnel you into particular
Right.
groups, anything like that. That freedom aspect. And
Right.
it's, I mean, I'm just starting my journey with cultivating shrooms, and I get onto the shroomery or DMT Nexus, and those things I look at them and my eyes start spinning because they're so complicated to follow.
Yes. Yes.
And
It is not
yeah,
user friendly.
and there's a lot of ego going on. It's like, yeah, I know. You do. I've never had that on DMT World, or really. People are just genuinely want to share what they've learned, and
Right.
it seems to just keep going on. And I'm just grateful that I came in as a total noob, at least on extraction and of course mushrooms and all this stuff. And thanks to the other people, I quickly became an elder. I learned, and
Yep.
then I can suddenly give out information on how to do an extraction, for example.
Yeah.
Where that just shows it's like a university,
Right.
tip-head university, right?
When DMT world's very non-threatening. I see it all the time. You can see the people that post and they make the way they post. Like, I am knee deep into other social media platforms just because I want to represent DMT world out there as well. I run the DMT Facebook group, and it's so thick with so much other types of energy, but that energy does not reside in DMT world. People come on and they ask questions there because they feel comfortable, that we're not going to ridicule them, that we're not going to make fun of them, that we're not going to talk down to them. We're not going to, and that comfort is what when DMT world, if I have questions, I'm going to ask the people in DMT world, because they're not going to think different or down about me. And I think that's how other people see it as well. It's like one gentleman just posted, he's like, I've been here for a little bit, just kind of checking it out before I start sharing myself. I just wanted to make sure what this place was like. And it's like, I wonder how many people have sat in DMT world and just observed. And then finally was like, okay, I'm going to kind of interact here. I'm going to start doing some stuff, because you just, the people that just show up, like we've got a bunch of new people right now that are showing back up into the community. People who haven't been around for a while are starting to show back up. I don't know what the crazy phenomenon is, but I sure like it. It's great to see the place as active as it has been lately. I also think you have helped with that, doing your little United States tour, which I want to talk to you about. Like, what did you do when you were here?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I definitely want to talk about that. It's still very much in the forefront of my mind, having just got back. So, my stories kind of often start off like the Big Bang.
Yeah.
I like to give the backstory. So there basically was a core group of DMT World members that we kind of splintered off, and they're less active, if at all, on DMT World now. But it's T-Rex or Fora, IAF, Animal Energy, and Luke Skywalker, who's still there, and also there was X Magic and a couple other people. But we started being friends. They started another podcast, and we had all these different groups and stuff together. I did some online courses with them, and IAF, who's the female partner of Animal Energy,
Right.
he started studying Reiki with me online. Obviously online, because she's living in Rhode Island and I'm living in southern Japan.
Right.
So it was online, that's something I'd like to talk about. So Reiki, we can talk about that later. But anyway, it involves an energetic initiation.
Right.
Where a Reiki master, which I don't like that word master, it's a bit heavy, but a Reiki master has the ability to change someone's energetic potential to channel healing energy. And it's just when I hear myself saying that, I go, what are you fucking talking about?
It makes sense and it translates fine. We understand what that is.
so normally the person would come to my house, so we would be there, and I'm doing symbols and saying mantras in my head and imagining things happening, like their chakras opening and cleaning their energy channel, and they were there in front of me, and then they 100% of the time they experience an energy change and they start feeling healing energy coming out of their hands. It's all very strange. I'm very skeptical, but thousands of people on, and they all experience a change in their life and in their ability to heal. Anyway, I did this online, so distant, and there's 4 levels: level 1, level 2, level 3, and then the teacher level.
Right.
And so when I do online stuff, I tell people, well, you don't have to pay me unless the healing works. You can pay me later. And for the teaching, I said, well, unless you actually feel that you have an increased ability to heal people, don't pay me, because it's an unseen thing. I'm not even there. And anyway, so she went through all 3 levels, and it's not really cheap. So she wouldn't have bothered to. It blows my mind that, okay, it's obviously working. Like I said, I'm a skeptic even about what I owe. It's obviously working, because why would she bother to go up to the levels? And then last Christmas, I asked her if she would want to be a teacher. And I've only taught 20 people to the teacher level in my 20 years of teaching professionally. And I've never asked anyone if they want to be a teacher. I always wait for them to approach me. I don't even advertise that course. I say, if you're interested, contact me. Right. Anyway, so I asked her. She said, yeah, because she has a very natural ability and she's a great teacher. So I asked her, and she said, yeah. And I said, okay, well, I'll come over and teach you. It's a 3-day course. And she went, okay. So that was Christmas. So I flew over to landed in New York, had 3 totally wild days in New York, painted the town red. Loved the drug wars. Got gobbling edibles from the first morning. Anyway, so then I spent a 1 week in their home. So this is something I've never stayed in someone's house that I don't know for a week.
Right.
I mean, that I've not physically met. So I met them. We were all amazed at how we were exactly how we thought each other were.
Yeah.
So there were no surprises. It's like we really knew each other.
Right.
It's like definitely a soul connection.
Yeah.
So we did. I taught her.
You do know this is why you asked if you wanted to be a teacher, because of that soul connection, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's what always really hits me right in the heart is the trust. For the work I do, people are telling me things that they, normally wouldn't tell people. Sharing these deep spiritual experiences with people, and it's the trust that people show. It's quite humbling. Right. So I guess deep down, I think maybe I'm not trustworthy or something. That's why it impresses me, that it inspires me that, wow, this person's showing trust in me. It kind of raises me up to be a more trustworthy person. There's an interesting dynamic there. I'm always so grateful for the trust that people will open up, and it inspires me. That's one of the things I love about this job. Anyway, so we did the 3 days. It was a 3-day workshop, but we spread it over like 5 days. We were pretty chilled out.
Right.
They took me to the Newport Jazz Festival.
Oh, fun!
Which was the best single day of music I have ever witnessed. I danced my ass off.
Oh, I'm sure you did.
Danced my ass off. It was so amazing. Yeah, absolutely amazing. And that whole area kind of blew my mind. The incredible wealth.
Mm.
And that's one of the things that blew me away about America, the disparity of wealth, coming from seeing homeless people and then these old money in Newport,
Yeah.
like these driveways that are like, a mile long, leading up to these manors,
Oh, yes.
lawns, acres and acres of just lawn.
Mhm.
It was pretty amazing. Anyway, then other reason was to do this Luminous Warrior retreat.
Right.
So thanks to T-Rex. So when it was decided that I was actually going to go and teach IAF to be a Reiki master, I said, well, while I'm over there, may as well do something else. There's a bunch of things. I want to teach breathwork. I want to teach meditation. I want to teach this EFT tapping healing technique. I want to teach Reiki.
Yes.
So I call up T-Rex and I say, hey man, I'm coming to Rhode Island. Let's do something. He said, what do you want to do? And I said, well, look, I want to do a 4-day retreat. And I want to do this, 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 and this. I want to give you my greatest hits album. I want to do all the things that I'm confident work and have worked for thousands of people and have worked for me to help change my life. And I want to use that to prepare people for a big psychedelic trip and to help them integrate. And he said, okay, let's do it. Okay. So we did it. It did not happen. I learned a lot. It didn't happen as nearly in the grand circumstances I'd envisaged. I was a little bit overzealous, but
yeah. Well, yeah. You
it was
didn't know. You didn't know. So like think big or don't think at all. So you did it though. You may have had bigger ideas about how it was going to play off because we always do, but you did it and you were successful at it because you did it.
Exactly. I mean, I had these kind of delusions of grandeur, like I was going to be welcomed like the Beatles or something. Maybe not that. Maybe not that extreme.
The next time, I'm sure it'll happen.
Yes, but he set it all up. We did it in this beautiful place called Merck Forest.
Oh.
A place that he'd work. And it's like a maple tree. It's a maple syrup farm. So this whole forest, it's really interesting. I've never seen it. Whole forest is a collaboration between the trees and humans.
Oh, how cool.
Yeah, so all these trees are tapped, but because they're tapped, the humans are looking after them, so they're flourishing. So they're giving to the humans, and the humans are looking after them.
Right.
And it was a place where the original settlers had come and in their ignorance had chopped down the original forest and grazed it. So they used it for cattle, but it didn't work and they all went bankrupt. And this guy bought up all the land and he replanted these trees. So it's only 100-year-old forest.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, it's this really trippy combination of humans and nature.
Where was this? What is this called? I want to look this up.
It's called Merck Forest in Vermont. I think it's northern Vermont. No, southern Vermont.
It's somewhere in Vermont. I'll find it. Okay.
Yeah,
so this is where you got to hold this retreat at? Oh my goodness.
So it's in this. I'm actually giving his kind of experience on his trip. So we were in this sugar house. It was the old sugar house.
Mm-hmm.
What the sugar house is, all the trees, all these pipes from the trees get funneled to the sugar house, and then they distill it. They refine it into maple syrup. There's some process, right? So basically, what it was is all the energy of the forest was directed to this little cabin next to a river in the forest. So we were literally in the heart of the forest. It was so it
yeah. Wow.
had an incredible energy. And at first I was kind of like, yeah, I'm not sure if I wanted to have it a bit more comfortable. It was, pretty rustic. There's no water. There's got no electricity, no water, no running water. There's a river there, and we had a little filter.
Right.
But it turned out to be absolutely the perfect place, secluded as you could possibly hope. All made out of wood. The birds and animals are all kind of just there, surrounded by trees. And it was incredible. It was turned out absolutely not anything near what I planned, but absolutely perfect for the 4 members that experienced it. Yeah, it was quite. I'm still posting the trip reports and the report about the whole retreat within the next couple of days on DMT World. It was incredible.
It sounds incredible. Like just those two things. So after T-Rex, then where did you go?
Okay, so after the retreat, yeah, I just want to say one thing. Everybody had less mushrooms than they normally had, and they all had the most profound mushroom experiences they'd ever had. So I want to talk later on about the technique, the John Hopkins protocol that we did, but we'll come back to that. So after that, that was just like, it was kind of life-changing, eye-opening, motivating, inspiring days with that crew. So it was Luke Skywalker, Animal Energy, and T-Rex.
Right.
And we used Gordo Tech's Sublime inspired playlist.
Right.
I'll get back to that. I definitely want to get back to that John Hopkins protocol.
We will.
And then I left. I went to California.
Okay.
To see an old friend, a dear brother who I've met in several countries, traveled with in several countries. I brought him over to Japan, and he ended up settling down there for 6 years, getting married and having 3 kids.
Oh.
And then eventually going back to live in California.
Right.
A total legend of a guy. And hung out with him for 10 days. Experienced the first hurricane to hit California in 100 years.
Oh, you were there when that happened. Oh.
We were planning a trip to the Joshua Tree. They got cancelled.
Oh,
I was looking out the window, and it was going, there's all this stuff on the TV. Oh, there's mass flooding. And I'm looking out the TV. Japan, and where I live, the rainfall is incredible here. I mean,
right.
I was going, this causing floods? This is nothing. This is nothing. We could have that. We could have that in the first hours of a rainy day,
Right. Kansas can too. When we get our thunderstorms and our rain showers out here, the heavens open up and the flood. I mean, it just water everywhere. So I can only imagine what Japan's like.
Yeah, they didn't. They obviously it's a desert area, right?
They're not used. Yeah.
Not used to it. The land is not used to it. And I was going, this is causing flooding. Anyway, a day later, we went out to Palm Springs.
Yeah.
And it was devastation. We went off road. The roads were closed, but we went, fuck it, let's just go. And we moved the road closed signs and we went off in his truck into the desert. We got lost in the desert. I thought I was going to die. It was incredible. We went to Whiskey A Go Go.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, which was actually because we both thought we were Jim Morrison back in the day. Just after the Doors movie came out, we were in Japan, and me and him and two other guys pretended we were Jim Morrison for one crazy summer. We went to the Whiskey A Go Go, and it was more like a museum tour. It was pretty sad, actually.
Yeah,
they had a cover band play, and it was the bands before that were really good, but it was pretty sad. that era is over.
Yeah, unfortunately, and it doesn't matter how many times they try to recreate it, keep it alive. I think it's pretty gone.
Yeah.
Okay, so then what did you do after you were in the floods?
Well, that's it. We hung out there. We hung out in Long Beach and Huntington Beach. He lives in Huntington Beach. We're going into fine restaurants, and we went camping down into Malibu Creek. That was the first night I arrived in LAX.
Right.
And he took me straight out to Malibu Creek State Park.
Oh my!
Which is amazing. And we hiked up to where they filmed MASH.
Yeah.
So it's like, wow, it looks like they filmed MASH here. You were expecting helicopters. I mean, any moment. Yeah, it was pretty amazing. There's a nice little water hole there. It's also kind of semi-arid, totally different environment from what I'm used to.
Right.
So that was amazing. It was really amazing. The nature blew my mind away. The desert, that Palm Springs area especially.
Oh yeah.
Blew my mind away.
So then what did we go to?
That was pretty much it. Then I skipped through quite a lot there of the tour. That was it. That was the one.
But that was your whole. That was your trip, your round trip that you did there. So now let's go back and let's talk about some of what you actually did in detail. So let's talk about the mushrooms first.
Okay, so I want to. Yeah.
Yes, let's talk about the mushrooms first.
Okay. Well, so it was this Luminous Warrior retreat. So what is a Luminous Warrior, and how I want to kind of talk about how that came to me.
Yes.
So last autumn. I've been teaching quite a few people, initiating people into DMT and doing LSD therapy, following the Hopkins-Griffiths protocol.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Have you read much about that, or?
I have, but I don't know it in depth. I just know I know about it because you've mentioned it a few times, so I went and kind of read some different things. But now I would like to hear from you what exactly this is. What is it about it? Why is this something that you're wanting to incorporate in what you're doing? And basically then how are you doing that? So let's talk about, first of all, what is it? What is this technique that you are actually talking about?
Okay, so why I got into it. So just flashback to 30 years ago. I'm in Goa on a beach.
30 years ago? Okay.
1992. I'm in Goa on a beach. I'd taken undisclosed amount of LSD. It was a LSD punch.
Oh, okay.
And it was by what my experience, it was probably something like 1,000 mics or something. I don't know. I had a complete ego dissolution, one with the entire universe. I was an ant, a flower, a tree, a rock, the whole shebang.
Oh, you went through the whole cycle. Yeah.
Okay, so that put me onto my spiritual path.
Sure.
Because I was like, I thought I cheated. Because we didn't have all the information that we have now, right?
Right.
So I thought, how do I integrate that, and how do I get back there without drugs? So that's what pushed me into this meditation and the yoga and the healing and et cetera. Doing fasts.
Were you ever successful in getting there?
No, I never got close. Without drugs, I never got close.
So anybody that tells me that I can, I'm going to be like, I don't know.
So, yeah, well,
because I don't think I could ever get into the exact state that I do when I
it's
in
a
my
different-
trip mode. Yes, you're in a different place. You're in a different place in your brain. You're in a different place in your body. Like everything is, it's a shift. It's shifted. I can't when I'm not in that realm, that under that way of being, I can't receive the same, whatever it is, the data, the information I get from the psychedelic use that I do non-psychedelic. Does that make sense? Like I don't absorb the same way.
Okay. Well, that being said, within the last 2 years, since getting into the breath work, the long form holotropic rebirthing type of breath work, conscious connected breathing, I've had 2 complete non-dual experiences. Not dislike a 5-MeO and the 5-MeO DMT trip. Twice I've had that.
Right.
I've had a what I assume was a 5-MeO DMT experience with some gym jam that I made.
Possible, yes.
Totally non-dual. I mean, there's it's either non-dual or it's dual. There's no
right.
kind of. It was non-dual. Like there's nothing there. There's no one to comment on it. There's no one to experience it. You only understand it when you're coming back.
Right.
So that was with breath work, and I've had full-on visions, and I've had with breath work, that same breath work, I've experienced being inside my mother and experiencing unconditional love before birth, like she wasn't throwing judgments on me, oh, you're a boy or anything like that. I experienced that, and even when I talk about it now, I can feel it in my cells that I'm loved. So I think it definitely is possible.
Right.
Anyway, so then I came back 4 years ago, skipped to 4 years ago when I came back to and joined DMT world and realized that the psychedelics and realized shamanism was a legitimate path to enlightenment is the word I would use.
Right.
Big words. And so then I got onto DMT world, and I was realizing, listening to people's trip reports, reading people's experiences, and how much I was taking, and the experiences and the ease of integration I was having with using psychedelics. And I realized, okay, so my, whatever 25 years of doing meditation and breathwork and fasting and doing all these things has given me a base that is perfect for using the psychedelic.
Right.
That's why I started to try to teach people on DMT world, meditation, breathwork, etc. I think, listen, guys, if you're using these tools, they are a set made in heaven. Every shaman in every culture has done this kind of fasting, done this kind of cleansing, done this breathwork, done some kind of meditation. And that's why they're the shamans. So I thinking, yeah, okay. And then the Hopkins Griffiths protocol comes out. And what they did, so John Hopkins had been using psilocybin, as we all know, for people who are going to die, people's addictions, etc. And they knew, okay, we know, clinically proven, what everybody else knows, but now it's scientifically proven that psilocybin works. Okay, no one listening is going to deny that, right?
Right. They just wanted to make sure that it was publicly announced. Like you said, it's something that people like us in our community have always known. And so, yes, they're the ones that were like, and because they had the accreditation that they could could be the ones to do this, and not people attack them or look down at them because of the accreditation. So yes, so go for yes, go on with what it is. Keep going. What it is.
So then so there's also a vast body of knowledge and proof and data that meditation is also good for you on
Right.
physical, mental, spiritual. That's, we all knew that, and now Western science is proving it, okay? Neuroscience especially.
Right, right.
Okay, so John Hopkins said, okay, what if we combine the two? Okay, so that's now they piqued my interest. Yeah, that's what I want to hear, because I'm skeptical about even my own findings, right?
Oh yeah.
So I see Gordo's text synopsis of it,
Right.
which he actually got a letter from them congratulating him on how well he synopsized it.
Nice.
So I read that, and basically they said they have a control group, people who did psilocybin only, people who did meditation only, and then I'm not sure, I forget if there's people who did nothing at all.
Right.
And then we did this spiritual program that's called the passage meditation,
Right.
which is basically an Indian dude taught it. It was the first spiritual meditation course that was accredited by a major American university. It's called the passage meditation, and it's a number of spiritual practices, and the meditation part. Obvious things: try to be nicer to people, stop looking at media, instead of watching media, read spiritual teachings, etc. You're setting up your brain. You're setting up your brain to be positive and to have this very high consciousness.
To be more receptive. Either setting up so you to be more receptive. Yeah.
Yeah, you're changing the diet of your brain.
Right. Because
So
positive, actually, you can take in more in a positive mode than if you are in a negative mode. Yeah. Because you're accepting instead of rejecting.
Exactly.
Yep.
So they gave this other group people who'd not meditated much before and had very little psychedelic experience. They gave them this passage meditation that they would do once or twice a day for a maximum 30 minutes. And they did that for 1 month, and then they gave them 1 dose of psilocybin. And they had this huge number of parameters that they checked on personality traits. How much you worry, you're out.
Do you know what the dose? Do you know what the dose of the dose was?
The gold. They had this Goldilocks dose that they worked out, which was about 30 milligrams of psilocybin. Of course, they're not using mushrooms, right? Right. Standardized dose. I think, don't quote me, but I think it was 30 milligrams, which is equivalent to about, I think it was 2.5 to 3 grams of golden teachers. I think it was. Okay. So they're using, it's a study, so they have to have a standardized dose.
Right. So, yeah, that's why I asked, because I don't know what a standard. I don't know what my standardized dose is, not that standardized dose. So that's why I asked.
It's kind of impossible for us to know how much, each mushroom is different, each cluster is different, each is different. We're different, so
Right. Okay, so
after they give this control group, and they have this a whole lot of different parameters where they ask not only the people who had the experience how they change, but they're asking their significant others and people in their family and people around them to say, did they improve on this? Did they improve on their outlook? Are they less irritable? Are they, blah, blah, blah. So the quote that I love is, after all, it's not altered traits that matter. It's altered states. It's not altered traits. It's not altered states. It's
It's
altered
altered
traits.
trait, yeah.
And when they prove conclusively that this spiritual practice combined with the psilocybin is better than the spiritual practice or the psilocybin alone. So I'm there, yes, that is exactly what I've been thinking for the last 3 years. Okay, well, I'm going to jump on that. And so I studied up on that. And the thing is, that is John Hopkins, and most of the stuff out there is aimed at newcomers, right? The vast majority of courses out there and the articles out there, the Netflix documentaries out there, they're all aimed at the people who've not really done psychedelics, right?
Right.
So I thought, well, DMT world, that's my community, the people. I want to tweak this for people who are already experienced.
Right. Exactly.
So my approach was to use all these other techniques that are a bit more advanced than the passage meditation, but includes the passage meditation. So the goal is to give a person the highest chance of having transcendental experience.
Right.
And they know by their studies, that it's the transcendental experience that causes the healing, that causes the life-changing trait changes. It's not the dose, it's the experience of this coming out of the ego and having a higher perspective.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. I mean, that's the perfect way of explaining it. That is exactly what it is. That's my fear with some of the ways that we're going in our psychedelic community, that aspect is going to get lost in the shuffle of some of the commercial stuff that we see happening, the words therapy and the words clinical and those types of things. I hope that there's not a disconnect of exactly what you talked about. Like that's what needs to be. These new people that are coming into this, that even said this, our community is the people you want to do this with, because we get it. Like we get it. What you just said is like exactly, we understand that. Now, how do we make sure that the new ones that are being introduced to this in these other avenues and these lights that are now, these pathways that are coming about, we know people have good intentions. We know other people don't have bad intentions. How do we make sure that we pass on what you just described to these people that are going to be doing this for the first time?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think it comes down to the people find what they're ready for. In my experience, it's very hard to teach and to expect beginners to come into an advanced.
Think about so here you go. Think about this. We traveled back 30 years. You took me 30 years back, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
yeah.
So it's taken to where you're at now to get to where you are mentally.
Yeah.
Like, okay, so we weren't force fed. We weren't shoved. This was not shoved into our faces. Like I had to go and look for things, learning my journey. But now that things are mainstreaming, and now things, legalities and the decriminalization, like especially here in the United States, like this is a thing. I don't know how it is in other countries, but in the United States, where we are most affected, like they are, it's no longer, your self journey, you're finding it. We always say, well, it's going to come to you when it's, going to come to you. But now it's now in front of everybody's face all the time. It's being shoved at them. It's being told this is going to be the cure. We're hearing these words tied to these substances that we in our community hold in a different light. And I just don't know. This is what conflicts me right now with the psychedelics and where the whole thing is going. I'm at great affliction, because what I'm holding on to is not what I see is coming at me in the future. And I hope that like what you're doing and how you're going about this and the understanding of the integration of utilizing that one of the substances with the meditation, because that's grounding. That's keeping the grounding. It's keeping the internal self, like you're connecting. It's kind of the mind, body, spirit. You're keeping that fluid connection and you're tying these substances with these other practices. Great. Again,
Exactly.
that's what I'm hoping moves forward for our future more than what my fear is what's going on in the futures. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but what you're doing is what we need to make sure keeps going forward. That's what I want to tell you. I think it's a great plan, and I think your vision is needed.
I really hear your concern, and I can really relate to that. When I started to teach yoga, professionally, it was good timing for me. Yoga had just become a word; it just entered the vocabulary of Japanese society. I'd already been doing it for 15 years, so I was at a place where I figured I could teach. And
how long have you been in Japan?
I've been in Japan I came in 1988 the first time. 1989.
Okay.
But that's just, I mean, I pretty much have been based here since then.
Okay.
So 34 years.
Okay.
It's been my base. You know, I've traveled away a lot and had here and there 6 months to a year living other places. But it's been my base pretty much for the last 3.5 decades.
So Japan is home. Okay.
Yeah. Well,
gotcha.
Yeah, it is home. Yeah. I'm pretty adaptable. I've realized when we moved to this new house now, I was thinking, geez, I move a lot. This is the 26th address I've lived at. And it's my wife's 22nd. So we're kind of nomadic. I'm pretty much at home. I'm pretty much at home wherever my hat is. And,
right.
I don't have any hair, so I need a hat all the time. So my hat's always climbing. So yeah, I would like to. I think, I really do understand your concern about that. I think there's some kind of way of framing that might alleviate your your concern about those things. So about this yoga thing. So when I started teaching yoga, all the yoga, I should have been teaching meditation, and I wanted to teach Reiki, but that was a bit far for people. So I used yoga, which had become mainstream as the welcoming door. The door.
Sure.
It was easy for people.
Oh yeah, because it would all segue eventually into each other. I can see that. Yoga was the best choice. You're right.
So it's 99.9% of my clients here are women. And they would all come, will I lose weight? Will it improve my figure? And I'm not here to improve your figure, sweetheart. I'm trying to get you enlightened. I'm trying to get you that you don't really care about those. You're not worried about the
right. I'm trying to get rid of that part of you. Yes.
So that it was not a very good business model. I should have just go. But what I see now down the track is that the yoga, even at that very, health club orientated, physical orientated thing, it did cause a shift. It did open a door for people to go deeper. And then eventually the next thing, spirituality became a word. Yeah. Now you've got meditation, you've got breathwork. So I think that even as the psychedelics come in and it's clinical, that the other thing is about the shamans. They say you need a shaman for ayahuasca or whatever, but the shamans will say the shaman is only doing 5% of the work.
Right. Oh yes.
The medicine is gonna go beyond open people up regardless of in some way, regardless of the form it's given in.
The trip sitters.
Yeah, these, at least on those university level studies that I've looked at, mostly just John Hopkins, to be honest.
Right.
They seem to be doing it really well.
Yes, I agree. I've read a lot. I've seen a lot. I try to keep up just on what's happening, because there is a lot of out on the edge that you hear that is just I think it's more opinion based rather than news. So I try to go in further into sources that are actually doing stuff like John Hopkins.
Yeah, I think all those guys, the guys that are doing it there, Bill Griffiths and all that, they're all, I think they're all very wise guys. They're very chill. They're taking the lessons, the mistakes from the 60s. And
right.
Right. So, thanks, Timothy, they're looking at Timothy Leary and stuff he did.
Right. Well, and we do know that they are going back through some of Timothy Leary's research. Like, we do know that there's a lot of studies that were going on back in the 60s when they shut things down. So I know I read some different things saying that they have gone back and looking at some of that data, some of the things that they were doing. So that's hopeful. It's really too bad that it took this long to get to where we're at with this. I mean, and it's exciting, but it's also moving really, really fast. And I just, that's kind of, 4 years ago, 4 years, just in 4 years alone. Okay. So we started DMT World because on Facebook group that we had, community standards had changed. They had updated them or something. The DMT Facebook group that we came from is the oldest DMT group that's on Facebook. It's been around 17 years. And so they took it down. And when they took it down, it was that was when we realized that we needed a place to be that wasn't going to be, censored, we weren't going to be told what we can and can't do, and those types of things. So that's when we moved. And, then you couldn't even really talk about half the stuff that we talk about. Even in DMT World, we had to be even more, now we can get a little bit more laxed on certain things because laws are changing. That's probably one of the hardest things for me to keep up with right now. I'll be honest, is laws, because we utilize the U.S. federal, that's what we abide by, with the no legal sourcing. But things are getting less and less. California just legalized or decriminalized the psychedelics. New York, we just found out that New York actually, when they passed the cannabis bill, that they actually made an amendment and took any psychedelics and mushrooms off their controlled list. So therefore it allows, and they voted on it and passed the psychedelic, this law that nobody really knew about, but it kind of just slipped in there. So there's things that are happening that it's we're moving super fast, at least in the United States. This is my question I have for you. What are your rules and laws and regulations over where you're at when it comes to psychedelics?
Wow. Okay. It's easy. They're all totally and utterly forbidden with extreme penalties. And there's very little difference I think there's no difference between having 0.1 gram of cannabis and having crystal meth. There's no difference. It's just one blanket law. I would say maybe in the next 700 or 800 years, you might have legalization here. they could be a bit extreme. I don't know. They did. I've heard actually they're talking about it, legalizing cannabis. They allowed CBD from a couple of years ago. So let's see. There's a guy. The laws are basically it's that. It's very simple. It's all illegal. thoroughly legal.
Well, you and me are in the same boat because Kansas, it's all illegal too. So we just got hemp and CBD legal here in just Kansas. So I feel for you. So what happens to you guys over there if you get caught with anything?
Well, I have had several friends who foreign friends who've gone to jail. They usually go for 2-3 months, and then they get kicked out.
They get kicked out? Is that what you just said? They kick them out? They just are like, you're done, and you go?
You're done. If they're foreigners, they go. And even I know a guy who had he got caught. He was a guy who got caught with like 0.1 gram, a little bit of leaf or something that was on the floor of his car. And he got kicked out, and he had a wife and a kid, and he can never come back.
Oh my gosh!
So yeah, it's pretty horrific, and they're weird that Japan has like 99% conviction rate.
No, I didn't know that.
If they catch you, people just, whether they've done something or not, they confess because the mental game. Like I had a friend, my very best friend, his name is Craig. So when the recording robot made me think of him, he's been my friend since we were in grade 5 elementary school.
Right.
We're still friends. He lives just an hour or two down the road from me. We made DMT together. We do all these things together. Anyway, that guy who got kicked out who got caught with 0.1 of a gram,
mm-hmm.
he was his nickname was Crazy Chris. So he was crazy. He was taking medication from various mental issues he had. He's a good guy, but he had some issues. Anyway, they put him inside and kind of a mental torture. He said that Craig had given him the weed, which was or wasn't the case. Anyway, we won't go there. Anyway, so they came round to his house, searched his house at 6 o'clock in the morning one morning, searched his house, didn't find anything, and then took him away, and they could keep him for 3 weeks in jail without charge.
What?
Without charges. So without charges, they kept him for 3 weeks.
3 weeks. They didn't find anything, and they didn't charge him, but they kept him for 3 weeks. Okay.
Certifiably crazy guy. One guy who was under psychiatric therapy had said his name. One guy who'd been arrested, who was, in their eyes, a convicted drug user and crazy. That guy's word put this other guy, my buddy, in jail for 3 weeks, and they've got this fluorescent light, and they keep him in this little cell with no natural light, with no exercise, and the lights were on 24 hours a day, and they would come and wake him up at any time, like 3 o'clock, random, and then interrogate him.
Oh my gosh.
And my buddy's a very special dude. We'd often talk about, if we ever got busted, it's like a meditation retreat. So he said, I remember that conversation. So he just went to full-on meditation mode. Well, and by the end of the time, like he teaches English. Half the guards were his English students. They had to kick out the prosecutor because Craig had befriended him so much. So they had to get the judge had told him, and I went in. I volunteered. I called him up. I called up the police. I said, "Hey, look, I want to give you information about Craig." This is a funny story. So I go in. Of course, I hide everything that I've got that's dodgy. I go in. I go volunteer. I go in. I want to come in. I go into the police station. I'm in this with a bright light looking at you in this soundproof room, a tiny little room. And I said, I want to have a translator. Of course, I speak Japanese, but I want to have that buffer zone. I go in there for 2 days, and on the first day, they're asking me all these questions. And this friend of mine, we have telepathy.
Right.
We've met each other in random cities around the world, not knowing each other were there several times.
Right.
We met like I go into a convenience store waiting for the toilet in a city where I probably wouldn't normally be, and I'm waiting for the toilet and he walks out. I mean, I could talk about a dozen stories. I'll call him and there's no sound. Our phones connect as we're calling each other at exactly the same moment. It's like, anyway.
Yeah.
So the story, you know, when you're doing stuff like this, you stick to as much truth as possible and you only change the details, right?
Right.
But anyway, the story I came up with about it was exactly the same story that he came up with. That's what got him out, apparently.
Nice.
So, on the first day there, I could have got an Academy Award nominating myself. I go in there, I go, look, he's such a fine Catholic and he's an upstanding citizen, and you know, and then I said, but if it's true that he's on drugs, I'll be heartbroken and I'll have to disown him. And I actually started crying.
Oh my.
And then that was the day, and then they asked me to come in the next day, and then the next day I go, I was thinking about it last night, and if it is true that he's lied to me and he's taking these terrible drugs, I'll forgive him and I'll support him until he's healed. And I cried again.
Oh.
I actually had tears rolling down my eyes. And anyway, he got out. They let him out. And so 90, I think it's 90. You can Google it. It's like 99.9% or something of people who ever get arrested, they get convicted because Japanese society is so brainwashing. It's that like if someone, you know, in a power of authority says something, you just say yeah.
Yeah.
They say you did it, and eventually they say yeah, I did it. And he's that 0.1% that got out.
Oh,
anyway,
wow.
The drug laws are atrocious, at least.
But you don't seem to have a problem getting substances, so that's good.
Okay, well, yeah, that's the thing is on the positive side is I've never heard of anyone being busted for mushrooms, LSD, or DMT. It's all cocaine,
meth, things like that.
Man, I'm not a cannabis user generally.
Yeah.
So, and I'd never would keep it at my house because cannabis is that you've got to have something to smoke it from. It smells.
Right.
Dogs can get it. People talk. It takes up space. You know, acids. Yep. Never. The only time I've heard people getting caught with like acid and stuff like that is when they were caught with something else.
Oh, yeah.
Usually cannabis, and then they found that as well. So I'm kind of. I hope that I'm kind of safe.
I think you're as safe as I am here. So, I mean, like you really are talking the way that I live my world here in Kansas. So yeah. As long as and that's just it. If you're smart about it, and if you're smart about it, and you don't go talk about it with the wrong people, you know, if you're cautious, they have no reason to check you, or you don't get in trouble. I mean, you might be a little rowdy, but whatever.
You shouldn't do podcasts.
They don't know who we are. It's fine.
Yeah.
So, your little group of people that you take pictures of and post all your naked pictures when who takes those pictures? Who takes your naked butt pictures when you're on?
Okay, but that's a good question. So this is something I often think is really funny,
right?
Especially like when I'm sitting there meditating, right?
Right.
Probably 9 times out of 10, it's me resting my phone up against a rock and running, getting into a Zen in like 9 seconds. I can get into perfect Zen mode in 9 seconds. So that's
I'm so glad that I'm so glad I asked that question.
That's a spiritual practice in itself.
You need like I don't know. You need like a like one of those stands, like the ones that fold clear up that it doesn't take up much space, but you can just be like.
No, the challenge is finding a tree or a rock.
I thought you were going to tell me that Honey is the
And that,
one that takes those
no,
pictures.
no, she's usually in the with me, right?
Yeah.
No, the other 10% of the time is my honey, is my wife. She
Okay.
does it. And from now on, I'm going to write. I'm gonna make a note. Whether it's a selfie, I'm going to call them Zen selfies, or by my love.
There you go. That's hilarious. It's great that she is such a great sport and I'm sure she's like, sure, I'll take these pictures for you.
Well, yeah,
As long as she's not like, you want me to take these pictures again? Makes me laugh.
She likes my butt. I guess. She likes my
Well, good. I'm glad.
I haven't done a butt photo for a while.
No, you haven't. Mm-mm.
I'll do a birthday butt photo. It's sagging a little bit. I'm going to be 56, and it's maybe I'm a little bit shy because it's not quite as 30 as it was a couple of years ago.
Did you say you're going to be 56? Is that what you said?
56 tomorrow.
Tomorrow. So tomorrow, your tomorrow or my tomorrow?
Well, that's a good question. The 10th.
Okay. Your tomorrow. Okay. Well, happy birthday on the 10th.
Yeah.
And what are you going to go do?
We're just going to chill. We're just going to chill. We're going to go find. I'm actually not feeling that well today.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're going to go find a new place. We're going to go up on the. Like I said, there could be a typhoon coming.
Right.
There is a typhoon this way, so we're just going to find a secluded beach or something somewhere. There's a lot of kind of undiscovered coastline north of us. Just take an hour or two drive and just kind of go for an adventure, find something new.
And just kind of chill.
And then just chill. Yeah, we'll get a nice bottle of wine, I think, and have a little bit of acid, I guess. My wife's not a big drug taker. She'll take a microdose.
Does she partake with you when you do?
She's naturally psychedelic. She like I'll come back like after ayahuasca or some big experience and go, wow.
She can feel it. Is she susceptible to you?
She says, why do you need drugs to realize that? She's like, I'm immediately going, yeah, so, yeah, right.
Right.
You're never impressed by it. She's like, yeah, well, of course.
My daughter is this way. When I trip on mushrooms and she sits in the room with me, she can feel the trip off me and it affects her. Like, and basically she'll act, I mean, it's like she's tripping and she'll tell you she feels like she's tripping, even when she hasn't taken anything. It's just whatever comes off of me when I'm in and it's especially with mushrooms. It's not as much with acid. It's definitely with mushrooms. Like, and she can control my energy. Oh, she can get my energy really spun. She can get me to the point where like it almost makes me nauseous because things are spinning so fast. She can sit there and she can change the energy in the room when we're together. When I'm on mushrooms, she's very, very tapped in, and especially when she's not on anything, it's crazy.
She sounds like a shaman.
Well, this girl doesn't know what her magic is yet, and when she figures it out, she's going to be very dynamic. That's what I can tell you about her. Okay. So
yeah, her mum, so it's probably not
right. Let's talk about. You wanted to talk about Reiki. You wanted to go into a little bit more detail about Reiki.
So you have a very good Reiki master there in Rhode Island. Everybody who's listening, I totally trust her to teach you Reiki. So let me just tell you a Reiki story about psychedelics.
Yes.
That involves my wife. So
Okay.
it was the second time doing ayahuasca, and I made it myself.
Okay.
So it was an analog Syrian root and Mimosa hostilis root bark. And
Okay.
a buddy much more experienced in ayahuasca and pretty much all psychedelics than me, came from Nagasaki, a guy from California. Anyway, but he came from across the island. It's about a 6-hour drive. He came all the way over to help me make it and to sit for me.
Wow. Nice.
So we brewed it up. We had an amazing day. We went hiking. We went to a hot spring. We went in this natural sauna, like a steam. It's basically a small log cabin plonked on top of a geyser, basically, out in this massive forest. Anyway, we had a perfect kind of setup for it. I was in a great mood. I had this special healing room that had 2 massive glass windows looking out into a forest. Perfect. The setting, everything's perfect. But I'm not really sure about the dose. You've made it yourself. Yeah, a little bit. I was a bit like, how much do I take? We knew the theory. I think it was 6 grams of. I made 2 doses. 6 grams of Syrian roux. Was it 3 grams? 6 grams, which is 2 doses, and then whatever it was of the root bark. But you don't want to take too much, right? Especially ayahuasca.
Right.
Well, especially anything, I guess. But so I take like, and it comes on quick, and I puke 15 minutes in. So I drink the rest of it. There, lying, and I'm getting some very dull kind of visuals. I see the serpent, but it's more like a dull neon electric kind of thing. Like the first time I had it was a full on, very ayahuasca type, vivid colors, painted like huge, massive serpent. But this is more like just a dull kind of LEDs. It's pretty nothing much, and just I felt dark, depressed. I was just going in the shadow.
Right.
And then that was for about 2 hours in, and my buddy had gone off for a break, and I'm in the shadow. I'm totally just in touch with my darkest, most disgusting self. I'm just full of self-loathing, and it's horrible. It's absolutely, and I'm straight. I'm absolutely stone cold sober, and I'm thinking, shit, I've not taken enough, and there's not enough to push me through the tunnel into the light. And I go and have a shower, and I come out. It's winter. My wife and him, we had a big, like a wood stove, and they were sitting there talking on the sofa about and I came out and I go, well, I'm done, and I'm depressed, and I think I'm going to be stuck in a deep depression for a long time. I'm feeling really like I just want to die. And I say to my wife, who can do Reiki, I say, can you just come and give me some Reiki? She said, of course. So we go back into the healing room. My buddy's lying there. My honey's there. The dog's there.
Mm-hmm.
I lie down, and the first Reiki position, standard kind of Reiki position when you go into get someone, you're allowing yourself to become a pipe.
Right.
So there's no doer. It's very much a meditative thing. There's no doer. There's no intention to heal.
Right.
The Reiki. What I love about Reiki is it's the way I put it. It's allowing natural balance to occur naturally.
Right.
So the metaphor I use is that if you have like a farm, and you want to let it go back to nature, you want the natural balance to occur, to come back, what do you do? What do you do if you want it to go back to nature?
What do you
yeah, what do you do if you have, say you have a garden,
Right.
and you just want it to be natural? What do you
Right.
do?
You
You don't do
just
anything.
right. You just let it
You
do
let it
its
be.
thing.
So that's the stance. That's the mind you're trying to get into with Reiki. So anyway, the first.
Yes, I understand. I have a friend who is a Reiki master that I go to and work with at times.
Okay.
Which I think is lovely. That's why I think it's very fascinating that this is what you do, because I know a little bit about it. So yes. I'm with you. Go on.
So I'm lying there, I get suicidal. I'm in the darkest, one of the darkest moments of my life. That's how I'm feeling. But it's not that I'm having a bad trip. It's like
Right.
I'm sober, and that's what I'm left with.
Right.
So I lie down, face up, and the first position, you're probably aware, normally when you do a session, is the person's sitting at above your head, putting their hands over your eyes, over your third eye, from your head, from your forehead. You can imagine forehead going with the palms over the eyes and going down the nose. As soon as she placed her hands there, pure white light, but more in the form of lightning, rushed down my body, and I could feel it coming down like a wave. And it was like what I imagine a woman's orgasm is. It was just shimmering white light, and it was as though my whole body was vibrating as the lightning, as the lightning's going.
Yep.
And it's just pure, like being an ocean of electric love, something like that. Like the whole thing is going shimmering. And then she's doing a classic Reiki session, and she's going down my body. And each time she moves her hands, it alternates between that and utter darkness and despair. So I was going from heaven to hell, heaven to hell, heaven to hell.
How
And
fascinating.
the last position she got was she does is she's now sitting at my feet, holding both my ankles, cupping my ankles. And now I'm just having this, it was probably like 20 minutes of just going, just having a love orgasm, just like, and just in this infinite ocean of electrified love is
Nice.
how I could describe it. And then she said, "Oh, come go out and sit there." I said, "Yeah, I'm fine. I'm not just like leaving there. Go, I want to, have a cigarette and go, was it good for you?" Anyway, so I come out eventually, like I'm still floating, right? Like I'm just like, whoa, like just blowing,
Afterglow.
like I've been reborn,
Right.
She's sitting there, glum, like the exact opposite, and she's not taking anything. Remember, right?
But she she transferred
What
energy.
what has happened is she became privy to my darkest side,
Yeah.
and all my negative feelings towards her. We're married. There's animosities. There's things unsaid.
Yes.
She's seen it.
Yeah.
But ayahuasca, truth is painful, but it's beautiful. It shows you truth. And she had this total ayahuasca experience where,
without taking
he didn't. She said she didn't. Although it was painful to have seen all this, it was truth,
right.
unadulterated truth. And we sat there and talked and talked and talked. We said, well, and now I'm experiencing is pure love for her, pure, and we actually said, well, maybe, I'm not going to rush into this, but maybe because of this incredible love we've realized for each other, maybe it's better if we're separate.
Right.
And there was normally I would just say, no way, that's not possible. But that thought of being separate was coming from a total space of love.
Right.
And we ended up with our relationship just reached another level after that. We're still together. But,
right.
3-4 years ago. So that was the power of Reiki with the psychedelic. So I thought I'd share that experience. So yeah, that was it saved my ass, I guess.
Yes, obviously you needed it. You needed it for some reason. Wouldn't have happened.
Yeah. So Reiki is I've been trying since that acid experience. I was 24. So that's 32 years. I've been totally focused on this spiritual journey and tried everything, aromatherapy and this and this and that. And Reiki is one of the 4 things that has stood the test of time with me that works for me. And it's next to meditation, it's the most basic, grounded, simple. It's the simple things that stay. It's so simple,
right?
And it gives you. I feel like it's like going on a toll road for your spiritual life. It's like you pay a little bit. I was totally against Reiki when I first started getting into. I got kicked out of Japan. I got out before they deported me. That's another story. But I was thinking, what am I going to do? And I'd already started on this healing journey. I've been living like a monk in the mountains, doing yoga and meditation 4 or 5 hours a day. And
right.
Anyway, so I'd already experienced energy coming out of my hands. It had awakened the healing ability and the desire to share it. So I had to come out of that.
Okay, so hang on just a minute. So up to this point, you don't believe that Reiki is a thing.
I don't,
or that you can do it. Did you believe in it or that you couldn't do it?
I believed in it, but I didn't see why you needed to pay for it. Maybe I was just too much of too stingy. Maybe I was just too stingy. But I didn't see. I was doing it naturally. I started massaging people with no technique or anything, and they were saying, well, "My pain is gone," blah blah blah. And I could feel the energy. I could feel the energy in my hands. I was starting to play with energy. I was starting to see auras and stuff. Because I was totally organic. I was doing fasting. I was doing crazy, like drinking 2 liters of salt water in the morning and puking it up, and
yep.
sticking rope in my nose and cleaning out all these crazy yoga practices. I was full on. And then, so I'd done all this cleansing and I was getting all these kind of psychic abilities.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, why do I need to pay for that? That's stupid. And I was had this Buddhist kind of aesthetic kind of mind that money, I hadn't worked out that money was just energy, and I had a negative thing towards money, and that's just materialism, and what do I need to pay? And anyway, I left Japan. I went and did all these retreats in Thailand and all these temples for 3 months.
How old were you at this point in time?
I was 27 or 28.
Okay, that explains it. Okay, go on.
It was my Saturn return. It ended up being about that later. A big disruption, and there was a girlfriend that kind of broke up with me. It's a long story, but I went to Thailand and I did all these retreats, and then I did a 3-month Thai massage course in a temple in Chiang Mai. And of course, these days I was totally pure. I didn't smoke, I didn't drink, I didn't do anything. I was just pure. And And then everyone I met, and it actually happened in Miyazaki before I left, these people that they were saying, "Oh, Jeff, you should." I'll skip that long story how I met, but it was a really incredible meeting. How we met, and then we met again. And I go, "You should do Reiki." And yeah, whatever. And I had a Reiki session from them, and I thought, yeah, it's nothing special. It's like, and what I realize now is Reiki, when you're feeling, if nature's already there, Reiki harmonizes things. So if you're in harmony, people who are quite healthy and happy, they don't feel Reiki as much as someone who really needs it.
Right.
That's my experience. It flows much more powerfully when people are out of balance than when they aren't.
Right.
Anyway, I and then I met all these people in all these temples, and on them, because you're doing massage, so the people are doing Reiki, and everyone's going, Reiki, oh, you should do Jeff, you should do Reiki. I'm like, fucking Reiki, what is this? Get away from me. And ended up going back to Australia and going from Perth, where I live in the southwest, to 5,000 kilometres north, to this 1 month epic road trip up there, and opening a massage shop.
Okay.
And the guy next to me was his factory, his shop was, he had a factory, but he was selling all this wrought iron stuff, like he'd make wrought iron chairs and gates and stuff like that.
Ah, okay.
But he was a Reiki master. So,
Reiki's been following you around, obviously, huh?
so I started doing massage, and because I wasn't into money, I felt like I was a prostitute if I said, look, I'm going to massage you for 30 minutes, you give me $30.
Right.
So my sign was massage by donation. I'll massage you until you relax or until the pain's gone, and you can give me what you want. It's by donation. And it was a very good business model. This was a good business model.
Oh.
Because the word got around that this guy, he would just massage you anyway. So, but after a day of massage, sometimes I couldn't move. I'd be like shaking on the ground, because you get someone who had cancer or someone with a mental issue, and it would just be like a black hole stuck. Because I was opening my energy. I was there, take my energy, I want to heal you. So my heart was open. It was sucking it was still probably ego based, I don't know, it was sucking my microcosm of energy.
Yeah.
And what Reiki is the macrocosm. Instead of you're not using a battery, you're connected to the mains.
Right.
So this guy, he would see me and he would say, man, you got to do Reiki, bro. You got to do Reiki. You won't, instead of being tired, you'll be energized by it. And I'm there, yeah, well, I don't know. He said, listen, if you give me and my wife a massage, and I was with my, turned out to be my ex-wife, my first ex-wife, I'll teach you, and she was massaging with me. I'll teach you and her Reiki 1. Okay, that's okay. That's okay. I don't have to pay money for it. That sounds good. That's an energy exchange. Yeah, good.
Right.
And as soon as I'd finished it, I was going, oh shit, I'm gonna got to master this. And then my sales, the time it took, I could do twice as many people a day, and I was getting twice as much donation. So it worked on that level too. Like people noticed the difference, and then I was sold. With Reiki. So that I think that's the beautiful thing, is it's a plus.
Right.
Often, like with massage, the other person feels good, but the person doing it gets depleted. So it's
right,
plus minus.
Exactly. Oh yes.
So Reiki's like a smell. It's like a smell. The more you do it, it's infinite, right?
Right. That's awesome. Well, I'm not going to keep you much longer, because I know it will be your birthday soon and you have plans. But I just want to tell you, I've really enjoyed sitting here just talking to you. Where is your dialect? Where is that? You live in Japan, but
Australia.
Australia. So you're born in Australia and made your way to Japan. Is that right?
So okay, that's a little story. I was in Ghana.
Yeah.
In Ghana to Indian parents. So my first nationality was Indian.
Okay.
And then we lived in Wales for a year when I was 3 to 4, and then from Australia till 5 till 20. And but my parents grew up during the Raj. So that's the British, it was a British colony, but
Okay.
the ancestors are all the colonizers of India. So there's French, there's Dutch, there's Portuguese, and there's English.
Okay.
So you understand why I'm not very stable.
Yes. Yes, I gotcha. Yes, it's awesome. I love this. I love sitting talking to you. This, I will tell you, this will not be the only interview we do. We were going to do this again because I want to keep up with your journey with the Illuminated Warriors, what more you're doing with it, if there's things you guys are going to be putting your heads together and trying to do other things with. Maybe in the future we can bring on you and like T-Rex or somebody, and we can have more of a group a session, and we can talk about some of the stuff that you guys are looking at or working towards or whatever is going on in your guys' life, because I really enjoy getting to sit and talk with you guys, because for 4 years I've just been this person on the other side of a computer, and now we're getting to actually communicate and talk, and it's like getting to know each other even better in a more intimate way, in a closer way. Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, I can't believe you're one of the few, at least I think you're the only admin that I hadn't actually spoken to before
Right.
this. I've
Right.
been
Right.
listening, so I've been getting to know you through the podcast,
Right.
and I'm not disappointed. You're very much HappyKB in my mind. Yeah, it's really beautiful to finally actually talk to you, because yeah, I mean, you've been, you always bring that happy vibe to the site, and it's so much a part of you that, I mean, you can see that it's an extension of you, and I don't think I can pay someone a higher compliment than that, because BNP World is, I always say, it's the love zone. I don't know if there's a better place in the whole of the vast internet, and it's certainly helped me exponentially on my journey. And I think you will never know the breadth of your influence, your positive influence on the world. I'd really like to thank you for that.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. That means a lot. That really means a lot.
Well, yeah, you mean a lot to a lot of people. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I'm glad we got to sit and we got to have a conversation and got to know each other just a little bit more. The next time I go see my Reiki master, I'm going to have a conversation with her. I'm going to tell her all about you. She'll love to hear about it. She might even join us on DMT World. So,
Yeah, yeah.
You never know. And maybe in the future, those we can bring you back to do some other things in the avenues of Reiki and massage and all this other things that you are interested in, because that would be a wild thing. And I think the DMT World could help sponsor something like that in the future. So we'll keep that on the plate.
Let's actually, I definitely want to start writing with
Yes.
you guys. And yeah, let's do something. I just one little thing. I spoke to Ben a couple of times, and we were thinking of the idea of like a DMT, like a university, like kind of a course where people can actually do courses a little bit more formally.
Yeah.
And put some courses together. I'm totally into that.
That would be amazing. Yeah, we should let's brainstorm on this. We've got so many good ideas and so much that we can do, and it's time. It's time for us to be doing, as DMT World, doing things and being even more a part of what is going on. So with that being said, I just want to say thank you again for being a guest on The Rambling Rabbit. I really, really appreciate everything that you do and everything that you bring to the community.
Yeah, thank you so much. And
You're very
love to everyone out there.
Absolutely. Okay, Shotboy, well, you have a good birthday. Happy birthday to you. And with that, I hope everybody enjoyed this episode and keep ascending, friends.